was our 2x2 formation. Red change now, we go racing for the first time this season. 3 hours of GT action, it's go.
It's very tight as they come down. Group of cars coming in, this has all got trouble written all over it. This is G3 cars.
Drop downhill there, head towards the Aqua Minerale. Imola, of course. There's another one off through the gravel. As wide as possible as they drop downhill, put it back from the inside line. Yes, he did. Through he goes.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome along to Apex Online Racing's Season 13 of the Sprint Cup Series. It's Season 13, brand new start here for Tier 2 on a brand new circuit with a plethora of brand new cars as well. And it's all getting kicked off right now as qualification for Round 1 begins. Really see the entire field already pouring out onto the circuit. Looks like car number 7 is the first car out the pit. Let's see if we can jump on board with them straight away, and that is Stephen Frost. And a lovely selection of cars, and oh, there's some fantastic liveries here. Look at that, stunning liveries. Now, as anyone that normally watches Tier 2 over previous seasons, you'll know that I'm a big fan of liveries. Love seeing the effort that people go to, and I'm a bit of a fan of a ridiculous, over-the-top anime livery, and so that Porsche there of Stephen Frost for Good Smile Racing definitely is putting a good smile on my face. We'll stick with our first driver out on the track for a moment. Right, so there's lots and lots of new names, lots of Tier 2 drivers moved up last night, so if anyone tuned in to watch Tier 1 yesterday, they would have seen quite a few of our drivers from last season already jumped up to Tier 1 last night. Drivers such as Reno Ritchie, Jay Fang, Seminara. I believe we had some others as well. I believe Cass and Gina was in there. I may be completely wrong on that. To check, he definitely was. But yeah, lots and lots of drivers gone up to lots of fresh blood here in Tier 2, wanting to get themselves right to the very tippy top of the championship so they can possibly make their way up to Tier 1 next season. So first flying lap from anyone coming along now, so we'll stick with Frost for the moment. And it was Waring and Horsey that topped the free practice. So it'll be interesting to see if they can replicate that here in qualifying. Relatively complicated circuit, not a vast quantities of place to overtake. But there'll definitely be some glorious moves. There was lots of side-by-side racing last night, and I almost guarantee that Tier 2 will put on a better show. Historically, always putting on some fantastic racing. Car number 7 just making its way through Sector 2. Be interesting to see how the Porsche does here. There was a lacking of Porsches last night, but there's some really interesting cars here in Tier 2 actually. We've got one of the only Mercedes. I think in the entire season across all the tiers, I think there's only a couple of Mercedes, and one of them is here in Tier 2. There's also one of the old Nissans. The old Nissan GTR, which I'm amazed to see in Tier 2. I mean, if I'm honest, I'm amazed to see it anywhere, and really good some of the back markers there mining out the way for our first flying driver. So this is the benchmark everyone's going to have to work to. Frost comes towards the line. Where is the timing? Let's have a look. So 1:31.7. Oh, and immediately beaten by Hamling with a 1:31.3. And still rolling in now. Yeah, okay, so what we saw in first practice was low 130s. Nobody broke into the 129s so far in practice. We did see 129s in qualifying yesterday for Tier 1. It's sort of around 0.2 to half a second between Tier 1 and Tier 2, generally speaking. But they are nearly identical in pace. It just tends to be they may be slightly less experienced drivers. And there we go, Waring showing that his first practice lap was definitely not just a fluke, as he is already up in pole now with a 1:30.567. And we'll keep an eye on him. Car number 34, the McLaren, looked very strongly last night, but there has been a update. A very small little patch came out overnight, so that may have been a slight change to the BOP. I haven't actually managed to find the notes on Steam as of yet, but I am sure someone will let me know in the chat what that update was. I'm sure there's far more accomplished drivers than me that would have been clawing over those numbers to see what was going on. So currently Josh Waring still holding on to the top spot. A lot of cars not even being able to do their first flying lap yet. Bit of a change there. We saw it flick back and forth between Holm and Hamling. So Waring actually down his lap time. Anyone here on a big run? Oh, here we go. Car number 31. Matthew Bouquet. Oh, here we go. Actually. Oh, we were 0.3 up, but they just dropped a second, so I'm not sure what happened there. They were up on the lap time, so maybe it was an invalidated lap earlier and decided to back out and try again. Zach Doran, 0.3 up at his time. What's he going to do when he comes across the line? Currently in 12th place. This is surely going to be an improvement for them. Up into 5th place. Really, really good effort there. I don't think we've seen a lap yet from Hornsheet, which I'm surprised to say they were absolutely flying earlier on in the practice session. Here we go. They are out and about. Oh, nearly 2 seconds up on their best time. So it'll be interesting to see how they get on. They're coming towards the line. Nearly 3 seconds of improvement, so down to 32nd at the moment. Let's see what happens here when they cross the line. First place. What an absolutely monstrous effort. Absolutely coming out of nowhere, that one. 1:30.375. Oh, very deep on turn 1 though. I don't imagine this is going to be a valid lap somehow. So lots of small improvements going on throughout the field. Going to jump on board with car number 200, Lucas Sador. Oh, very deep on that final turn. That certainly invalidated the lap, but I wouldn't be surprised if that invalidates the next one. Comes into the pits. Decides against continuing on. Sergio Cabrata, racing for the Italian job. And it's an Audi. Again, we were saying last night it was nice to see the Italian job on an Italian car, but it's on the Audi this evening. Oh, that's definitely not going to be a fast lap now after that little mistake there. That certainly would have lost them some time. Have a little look through all the drivers. There's a lot of new names here this evening. Fantastic to see so many new names. Let's jump on board with car number 189, and it's one of the Mercedes. There's 2 of them here. Currently running in the 11th place. Racing team KWADI. I'm sure someone will tell me that's actually not an acronym and I meant to pronounce it Quadi or something like that. But it is great to see not only at the beginning of the season a whole bunch of new teams and cars, but also the circuit as well. It's really lovely to see. As there's some fantastic racing coming up this season. I think we're in for a very, very different grid, I would say, as well. On grid, apologies, some race track listings, some very, very different tracks this season. 3 times we're visiting the Isles of Britain as well. But it's Branhatch, Donington, and we've got Snetterton, which I didn't think I'd ever see in an Apex Online Racing season. Oh, big jump up there, up into 5th place. Really good effort. And look at this. When was the last time you saw a Nissan and a Mercedes battling it out in qualification? Oh, and while we have been talking, actually, someone has taken away the pole position, and it is Jason Calloway. A strong lap, 1:30.317. Let's have a quick look at this lovely McLaren. So they did very, very well last night, but they did appear to be an absolute handful to keep control of. So would not be surprised if we see some incidents with the McLarens possibly this evening. Oh, someone on a huge drive at the moment, actually. Let's have a look at this. Simon Faust at Faced. I believe it's Faced. I do apologise if I'm saying that. A Toaster Racing. Brilliant. And they come across the line, 16th place. Really good effort. Massive improvement. Someone else on a huge improvement as well is Lucas Sador. 0.4 up on their time at the moment, only in Sector 1. But thundering around the track as we speak. Just coming down towards turn 12, takes it really nicely there. Going to have to run it all the way around turn 13. Got to be super brave on the brakes. Oh, possibly went a little bit deep, not sure. Keeps it tight on the exit. We saw him go wide earlier on in qualification. Still pushing forward. What are we going to get here? Up into 5th place. Amazing effort from 30th to 5th. So still drivers clearly only just getting around to putting in fast laps. And someone on a flyer as well as they come around the final corner is Demira. 36th place at the moment. 0.7 up on the lap time. So it's going to come flying up through the points. Up into 19th place, apologies. Really strong effort. Looking like Bouquet again is already 0.4 up. And still very much only in the first sector of this lap. But to be fair, Zeelenberg behind as well in that 56 car. Also on an absolute flyer as well. If Bouquet can put this together, that's a massive improvement. It was 0.7 up for a very brief moment there. Half a second we'll see a nice old chunk of positions gained. Oh, very squirrely there though. You don't want to make friends with that curve. Oh, and slow traffic in front. Well manoeuvred round. I think actually the Italian job car there might have maybe slightly impaired someone's lap. Maybe not necessarily intentional, but they were on the optimal line. And actually, yes, Bouquet is now down on their time, so he didn't quite manage to keep that together. Yeah, Horsey has retaken pole position. Big improvements. Shipper, Iron Racing esports team. We had a bright livery on that Porsche. Coming up towards turn 12 again. I do seem to cut to cars just before they get to turn 12. Oh, there was a mistake there. Bit too much of the curb. Saying that actually Josh Waring has just showed up as 0.2 up on a lap time, currently running in 4th place. This could be a significant improvement. 0.2 again, it's dipping between 0.1 and 0.2, coming into the final corner now, swings it in, takes the exit, not too wide. We actually saw a couple of drivers get caught out, Jalier being one of them last night. We're using, oh, there we go, pole position, 1:30.147. We're saying a couple of drivers last night caught out, actually invalidating their laps on the final run to the line. They were just drifting a little bit too far. over into the pit entrance, and it was invalidating the laps. Oh, and there we go, an improvement for Dumoulin. Dumoulin? We'll go with Dumoulin. 22nd place now, car number 312, Prima Esports F296 GT3 2023. Oh, that's a mouthful of a team name, isn't it? Crikey. So currently running at the back of the grid is Denick Bjorkvist with the Eclipse Racing Esports, but he is 1.7 up on his best time. So this could be a significant 2 seconds up on his best time. Have they left it just to the very, very end? Actually, yes, I don't think they've set a single lap that I can see. Oh no, it was a 135. It was a 135 last time, so that could have still very much been a case of getting the tyres up to temperature last lap. So it'd be interesting to see what happens here. We'll stick with them just for a little bit. And pushing on around turn 13. I do love the way the car just sweeps round this left-hander. Not using quite as much outside curbing as some other drivers, but keeps it tidy there on the exit, and actually is 4.6 seconds up on his best time. So let's see what happens when they cross the line. Up into 39th place. So gets themselves off the bottom of the grid and able to keep pushing on. So people on big improvements. Julian Schiefer, currently 0.2 up on their time. Well, Josh Waring, who was already on pole position, was actually 0.1 up. Oh, I think, and Schiefer abandoning the lap. Obviously got maybe slightly too impeded on that final turn. Real shame because there was a little bit of improvement to be made there. Oh, Terminum for Uppis Racing. Coming towards the line, running in 12th place. Slight improvement here. Are we going to see a position gained? Yes, we are, up into 8th place. A couple of positions jumped up there. Really well done. And so this is Komechik with Your Way Racing. I think I've seen a couple of different cars running that livery this evening. I think there's a BMW in there somewhere as well running that Your Way Racing livery. Just obviously slightly stretched out over the much larger and bulkier body. So this is going to be people's final laps, it would seem. A couple of people out there putting in improvements. Still 0.1 up at the moment though. After this, we're going to jump across to Kevin Niles, who is currently running in 16th place. Oh, I think he may have crossed the line at the exact moment. And now running in 6th place. Wonderful. So it went very quiet suddenly then. It made me worry ever so slightly that we'd had the old ACC sort of gunshot bang and then sudden lack of sound from everything. So last couple of people coming across the line now. Porsche does appear to be holding on to pole position. So I think nearly everyone is in. It's actually car number 882 left across the line, and the session has apparently ended. So be a very short moment, and then they will be on the grid, and we can run through the running order for round 1 of season 13 Apex Online Racing here at Valencia. I say Tier 1 put on a great show last night, and historically Tier 2 always puts on an equally, if not better, show for everyone at home. So let's jump to the helicam, because it's always nice to get a bit of a view from above. You can get a bit of an idea of where everyone is. So pole position is Horchi, and second place is Josh Waring. Nowski, who we did not actually mention in the qualifying, but there we go, up on 3rd place. Kellaway in 4th. Komenchik in 5th place. Kevin Niles gets himself up to 6th. Hamling up in 7th. Oh, that is quite a tongue twister. That one in the Nissan, car number 4. I'm going to presume that is Thelou. I'm going to presume that's Thelou because it's that end in the UEX. And so I'm sure someone will let me know. So there we go. Running in 8th place is Thelou. Chipper in 9th. Mueller in 10th. Terminen in 11th. Sidor 12th. Arlavi in 13th place, Doran 14th, and Holm rounding out the top 15. So continuing on, 16th place is Bouquet, Martin 17th place, Verkowski in 18th place, Jean-Michel Brin in 19th place, Cargaloo in 20th place, Clifford 21st, McLeod 22nd. I'm going to contact this driver and find out the correct pronunciation for this one. I believe it is Feist, 23rd position. Demoulin in 24th position. Demira, 25th position. Piperata, 26th. Schaefer, 27th. Verdier, 28th position. Ziege in 29th position. And rounding out the top 30 is Jimenez. Lovely little car there, and one of the number 60 Ferraris there. And there's lots and lots of Ferraris in here again this evening. James Cowley in 31st, Malfoy in 32nd, Zeelenberg in 33rd position, Koga 34th, car number 91, Vassilviv 35th position, Rutter 36th, Shirley in 37th, Frost, who actually we saw doing quite strong in first practice, down in 38th place. Bjorkvist, 39th place. Zakowski down in 40th. Louis Alexandra in 41st. And rounding out the grid this is kind of 808. And I'm going to take a moment to make sure I'm reading this one correctly. I do apologise. So it looks like David Schwierdzewski, and I do apologise for that. That is certainly not a name that I would natively read, so apologies about that one. So I'm seeing a little bit in the driver's chat, a couple of people complaining about people slowing down right towards the end of the lap and almost coming to a stop on the final turn. And I do understand why people are doing that, to obviously try and give themselves the best run and a bit of running room in front. But you do have to be a little bit aware of people behind you, especially if someone's on a flying lap and suddenly you're stacking 5 cars up behind you because you want the best possible run on the pit straight. So that might be one that Race Control has a little look afterwards. Obviously, with Tier 1, it is live stewarding. With Tier 2 and beyond, as obviously we run not just Tier 2 this evening, it's all the way down to Tier 7, I think. Always goes a little bit quieter in the summer, but normally we run a maximum of 10 tiers. But they are done on post-race time penalties. So basically, all the drivers have to put in the information and file a report, and that obviously gets added to the times, and any finishing positions are adjusted in post. So what you can find is you might get a really good finish, but if you've had a bit of particularly dirty race, you are not necessarily still going to be in the position when you look at the standings once the update is complete. Nothing ever too serious, I'd like to say, but we do get the occasional thing where someone gets a fairly hefty penalty. But it really is just to encourage clean racing, especially on lap 1, turn 1. Usually pretty clean for everyone here. It really is a stunning track, I have to say. It's I haven't actually done a race here yet. I've done plenty of hot laps and a bit of practice trying to get myself used to this circuit, trying to familiarise myself with the layout before jumping in the comms box this evening, so I wasn't completely unaware of where the circuit goes. There's not that many obvious braking markers, and I will say if you're in a bit of a pack and you've got someone right in front of you, or maybe you're too wide, I think this is going to be the first time a lot of these drivers are going to be experiencing that. They do put on a couple of practice races here at AOR as well, so you can get a bit of a chance if you fancy, oh, I don't want to jump into this completely blind, let's have a little practice. So you can do that, but obviously it is not mandatory, so some of these drivers, due to time constraints, aren't necessarily that well versed with this circuit. So it's going to be interesting to see how this goes. So just coming towards the end of Sector 2 on the formation lap, everyone getting the tyres up to temperature. And obviously there has been the major update to the game as well that we saw a couple of months back now, but this is the first Apex Online Sprint Cup series that has been held since the major update to the entire sort of physics of the game, the way the tyres work, the way the setups work. So this might be some of these people's first time actually fully driving an Anger in a championship that really matters. I'm sure lots of people have done the odd, sort of online quick race, but this is the big one. This is the tippy top. God, that's a lovely variation of cars up there. I still can't get over the fact that it's a Nissan in 8th position. It's lovely to see. Right, final run for the line. So it was fairly clean last night. It's a long old wait until you get to that green light. We're just waiting for it now. Porsche and Waring on the front row. Nowski and Kellaway making up the second row. Is anyone going to be able to make a move straight off the line? And the lights go green, and we are underway for 1 hour of racing here at Valencia. And I think Waring got a really good start. Is he going to be up the inside? He is not. Ooh, nearly coming together. He was trying to go around the outside, but Horsey manages to hold him off. A little bit of bumpy in the background, but nothing too major. We're going to stick with the front of the pack just for a little bit longer. Oh, and there was an incident back there. That was something quite serious, I think, went on back there at turn 1. We are going to stick with the bulk of the actual racing for now, though we will go back to replays later in the race for incidents, but for now we're going to stick with the main pack. And at the moment, oh, there's been another incident further back. I think only a few involved. This is always the thing. Oh, and Shirley's picked up a drive-through penalty. That must have been for out-of-position start, possibly. What has happened there? Can we get Shirley? While the timing board is having a real wriggle on with everyone at the moment, but they've managed to make it through half the lap so far without any major casualties, I believe. This is starting to become a little bit of deja vu. The 3 McLarens at the front breaking away. Porsche, Waring and Nowski. Let's jump a little bit further back into, this is Verdier. The RSGT and P1CE Huracan team. Already running in 40th place. They managed to caught up in one of these earlier incidents. So they'll be disappointed with that. Oh, dive around the outside there for car number 7. This is the kind of place we're going to see these really big braking manoeuvres. It's going to be on that final turn. Oh, and straight into the pits, obviously carrying a bit of damage after that incident on lap 1. And so that drive-through must have been an in-game penalty for Shirley. And we'll see if we can jump on with them and see where they are. Yes, they're still carrying it for the Scuderia Ferrari, car number 45. And yet they are carrying a drive-through penalty, and that is absolutely colossal on such a short race as well. That is exactly what you do not need. So the Nissan under attack currently. Mueller versus Thalou. To be fair, this is currently the battle for 8th place going on. Slowly stacking up a little bit. Just trying to keep a little eye on all the battles going on the timing screen. This one seems pretty hot at the moment, though. A little bit further down the grid as well. This is the battle for 17th place. We might see a move here around turn 13. The Mercedes has a really good run. Car number 17 of Arlavi. And yes, down the inside into turn 13. Cuts the nose off the Porsche. Really well placed there. Got the car in just the right spot to cut the nose on, and will now use that roaring great V8 to thunder away from the Porsche. Obviously, this is the new Porsche for this season as well, which is a vast improvement on the older Porsches. Lots of people have let me know how much better this car is to drive. It's not a car that I particularly go for. I am usually a Mercedes driver. I like a car that drives just as understeery in the dry as in the wet. So the Mercedes works just fine for me. Lovely little squabbles going on here and there around the track. Let's jump on board with Simon Feist fast. In the Volvo Mercedes, actually, I can't promise that's not just the bias. Toaster Racing. Currently sandwiched by a couple of mid-engine cars. There's quite the pack going on down here. And Horsey's still holding on to pole position at the moment. I think a couple of people are really trying to go for some different moves, trying to sort of work out where they can go for the attack, where they can unsettle the car in front. Obviously you don't want to make contact, but you want to maybe just show the nose a little bit. And actually up the inside now, car number 24 looks like he's trying to push through. That is Malfoy. Doesn't quite get it done. Mercedes managing to keep going on around the outside, but very deep there, unsettles themselves on the curve. That's surely going to be a position coming away from them now, unless they can do it on the braking. Malfoy tries to go up the inside, does get a decent overlap. It's very close, giving each other just enough room. It's now going to be Ferrari versus Mercedes, a sprint to turn one. And actually Mercedes just managing to maintain the speed and grip. A couple of cars going off there, kind of 882 and 200. I believe they are back markers letting through the pack. Oh, that was a mistake there. That looked like Malfoy just went off. It was. Let's go back and see if we can catch that one. So this was earlier on up at turn 13, so gone back a little bit far. The handicap on this track though, I will say, is not the best. We'll go back to reset 2, I think, on this one. So keep an eye. What happens here? Is there a bump? There is. Just a slight nudge from behind. No one's the winner there. Ooh. And just managed to keep it out the way, but that is certainly going to be carrying some damage. And so that was the... Didn't get the race number off the side of that car, to be fair. I believe that is still the Lamborghini following of the Bukowski. Yeah, I believe it was. Was it Carnival 92 or was it the one in front of that? I think it was Carnival 92. I'm sure someone in the chat will let me know at some point that it was not, but I wonder if that will be seen later in the stewards' inquiries. I imagine there will be something post-race on that one. It was didn't look to be particularly purposeful, but yeah, just collecting the back of the car and just knocking it round. And it's such a fast turn where you're relying so much on the tyre grip. The tiniest little bump is going to send you flying. And yes, judging by the front damage on the front of that car number 92, I do believe that was the one we just saw have an incident. Staying out though. Obviously not carrying too much damage to warrant pitting as of yet. So jumping back on with our leaders, and actually look at that, car number 46 of Kamichik has just set the fastest lap of the race with a 1:30.942. So it's probably going to be the fastest laps will start pouring in again in the second half of this race when everyone's used a bit of fuel and they've got fresh tyres. Oh, and a possible mistake there. Nowski looked like he was trying to out-brake Waring, but just maybe unsettled the car a little bit in that Garage 59 liveried car. And Callaway taking full advantage right on the back. I know a lot of the Tier 1 drivers were saying how dominant the McLaren was last night, and clearly it's still a very, very strong car hit on this circuit. It's definitely going to be a case of throughout the season really going to be interesting to see how the different cars sort of ebb and flow in dominant performance. Oh, car number 110 is off. That is Zach Duron. What happened there? Looks to be in reasonably clean air at that point. Well, he's running in 16th place. Some racing going on behind them. Is this just a bit too much curve and unsettled the car? Yes, it is. Oh, and tried to... Oh, dear. Tried to save the slide and was collected then by a car from behind. Oh, that's a bit of an awkward one, really, isn't it? I mean, you can understand why they're trying to save the slide, but I think the normal rules are essentially if you're crashing, you're meant to just hold the brake so you're more obvious as to what's going on. So obviously once you did get the car back the right way, oh, what a move here! Down the inside, brilliant move there from Callaway, pushing through, now trying to take Nowski. Trying to go for that last podium spot, going to be still on the inside, but then going to be on the outside here, going to try and go around that all the way around. Can they do it? Car number 23 versus 720, and I'm not sure, they might be on the... Going to be on the outside again here at turn 12. goes for the brakes. Are they going for a switchback? Possibly, but now they're going to be outside for turn 13, turn 13, and that is the long way round. They are on the outside. Who's going to be bravest on the brakes? Callaway trying absolutely everything, but not able to make it stick, and that was some glorious side-by-side action there. And still, well, they've only just done 10 minutes of racing. Under 10 minutes of racing done. Oh, and they're nearly 3 wide now coming down towards turn 1. Ducking and weaving, trying to get the optimum line. Car number 23 trying to get around the outside again. Callaway runs out a little bit wide. And now someone taking advantage is Kimichik. Trying to get around the outside. Is he going to get a switchback on these two? This could be a 2-for-1 offer. Callaway now happy to actually go defensive. Kimichik obviously setting that fastest lap of the race as well. To be fair, Hamlin catching up with these 3 as well now. So the final spot on the podium is almost coming down to a 4-way battle. Really, Nowski just needs to kind of try and break away a little bit. Get his head down and put in some fast laps. Try not to defend too much. That's where you're going to lose as much speed. Looks to have broken away ever so slightly again from Callaway. And actually, yes, Hamlin. Oh, sorry, Kimichik is looking like the aggressor at this point. Gaps have opened up just a tad. Further down the grid, we've got Malcoy and Piperata. Appear to be quite close. Well, they were on the timing screen, but in reality, I don't think they're quite that close on the track. Oh, this is a close one. Bouquet! Jimmy Holm right behind him, and Cargaloo as well. This looks like to be a pretty close battle. Not even half a second between these drivers. So this is... Oh yeah, Bouquet into 10th place as well. So Bouquet just getting himself into 10th. That updated on the timing board, so they just got past Schipper. Fly through turn 1, and Jimmy Holm chasing after Schipper as well. Oh, and actually that seems to be really heating up. Car number 985, Iron Racing Esports, in 11th place at the moment, but they are being hounded by a pair of Ferraris. Like a wounded deer running from the dogs, I think. I do think actually that car number 985 may have had a little incident earlier, so they may be carrying a little bit of damage, which does mean the Ferraris might be on the hard charge. Oh, actually, to be fair, I think Schipper's almost taken the fight back to Bouquet. Definitely seemed faster there, all the way through sector 2. Really caught up with the back of that car again. He's come through turn 12. How is everyone going to handle the curb? We saw all of the Porsches go a little bit awry here, just a lap ago, but no. Schipper hangs on to it absolutely fantastically. Not going to see any big dives under braking here at the moment, I don't think. And actually, you can just see Orlavi coming into the back of the shot. Oh, sorry, Orlavi coming into the back of the shot, and this does appear to be a growing battle for the final position inside the top 10. Everyone stacking up pretty quickly. Oh, and actually, if we look at the very front of the grid, Porsche and Waring still squabbling around. Porsche still currently lapping slightly faster, but only very, very slightly. Actually 0.002 of a second between them, so absolutely nothing between these two drivers. Obviously when you're running in second place you do get that slight advantage of the tow, but you also have the aero wash from the car in front, which will give you diminished front end downforce. To be fair, can even unsettle the back of the car as well. Big move up the inside, fantastic move, but slightly outbrakes himself. And to be fair, I think Porsche almost saw that coming and decided to brake a bit harder and then get the undercut. Going to be on the inside here for turn 12. Oh, lots of curb running. And this might be the position where Waring can then finally go around the outside. He's right on the outside edge. Can he get it done down into the final turn? Turn 13, tries to outbrake him again. Big dive. Side by side, bit of a power slide, both giving each other room. Fantastic driving from both of them, but at the moment Waring is ever so slightly in front, if only by a whisker. Down towards turn 1. Can Horsey come back? He's going to be on the inside. He's managed to hold on to it the entire way. They surely give themselves room. No, gives up the position, and Josh Waring up into pole position and already defending furiously. And to be fair, some smart defending here will then back up Horsey into Kellaway and Kimmich. Which also, they're still fighting, they're still side by side. Oh, car number 26 I've just seen in the background on a yellow. That was McLeod. So what happened there, jumping back for them? So seeing at the moment, this was the back of that pack we were watching just a little while ago. This is for the battle just outside the top 10. This is getting down towards turn 1. So what happens here? Is it just the car gets slightly unsettled? Yeah, bit of a power slide, bit of a tank slapper. To be fair, really well. My goodness! Oh, I really thought we were going to see them rejoin a little bit hairily then. I mean, really well held to keep it off the track. But again, this is why we say about when you're having these kind of incidents, especially once you're off the circuit, just hold the brakes. Oh, what a mistake! Mistake from Josh Waring. Goes very, very deep, hits the curb, and he ends up losing 1 position, 2 positions, possibly 3 here. Kellaway trying to go around the outside, and that car number 23 not able to do it, but after all that hard work to take first place away from Josh Waring. And it's all come tumbling down around him, back down into 3rd place, and now Ski will be very pleased with that, managing to gain a position. It's not necessarily how you want to gain position, it's other people's faults, but it is always good to get yourself up on the podium position, even if it still is with 44 minutes and 19 seconds of racing left. But you can see the difference between the cars that are racing with sort of in a tight-knit battle, the aggressive times, the aggressive lines they're taking, much more sort of aggressive cuts in, trying to get the car onto the apex using as much circuit as possible. But the issue is going to be that whether or not their tyres can last all the way to the halfway point. I say the tyres really should be able to last the 30 minutes, but it depends how hard you're pushing them. And this front pack really has been pushing it since the very, very beginning. Good to see one of the Lamborghinis holding onto the back of all of these. Not a Ferrari actually, so it's the Hamling and Niles holding onto the back of this pack. Really good to see. Mini Simeon back in the chat as well. Good afternoon, sir, or good evening, sir. Oh, and someone went off then. That was car number 46, wasn't it? Car number 46 went flying. Now, we did see a little bit of a possible timing, not timing, maybe a connection issue for them then. We saw a couple of cars jump around. So jumping back on with them. Let's see if we can spot what happened. So it was coming through turn 12. What happened here? Oh, it was! There was a bit of a... appeared to be some weird net coding there. They almost got taken out by a car that just randomly appeared on the circuit, so not sure what will be happening stewards-wise on that one, because it's certainly not sort of anyone's fault, really. A bit of an odd one, it's a bit of an awkward one to try and judge, but now that car number 46 of Kimmich really struggling. With this nice little squabble going on. Oh, actually, I just realised as well that obviously that's still the fastest lap holder, car number 46. Which is now on the back of this pack that we are watching at the moment. So this is Bouquet versus Thalou and Mueller in that battle pack as well. Now, I believe in previous BOPs and updates and such, I've always been told how that the Nissan is very, very aggressive on tyres. It'll be interesting to see if they can go the whole hog here. Let's quickly just jump in to... So I do believe I might be getting a second commentator joining us in a minute, which would be very nice. We'll keep an eye on the comms box and give them a shout when they do enter. This lovely little battle going on right now for 7th place. It is becoming a bit of a bottleneck now, Carnival 4. Yeah, it's a really nice stack of cars building up. Absolutely fantastic. This is always the thing as well, where you get a big bunch of cars behind you and eventually someone has to go for the move, and it just gets messier and messier until someone manages to get past. This is where incidents can happen. It doesn't tend to be the 2 leading cars, it tends to be slightly further back in the bottle. To be fair, the Nissan doing really well on the brakes. Amazed how well it's doing on the brakes. Still pushing on. The Nissan looking very strong on the curb zone. Actually, you can see as it went through turn 12 there just how strong on the curbing it was. But under braking there. Oh, there's a big hit. Kind of a 31 goes sideways, holding his brakes, but is in a very, very awkward position there. Really smart. Decides to reverse off the circuit and get themselves re-going. Fair play. Gets themselves back up and running. Oh, and into the pits, so deciding maybe to run with some fresh air at this point. So jumping back on board with our leaders. And actually you can see them starting to catch up with the back of the pack here. They are already starting to hit some back markers. So this might change how things work, to be fair. It's going to be a bit of a stack, quite possibly. Back markers, as of yet, have not moved out of the way. I mean, they don't necessarily have to move out of the way, they just cannot defend against cars that are coming up behind them. Usually it's a case of most people will move ever so slightly off the racing line and just give a little bit of space. But that is not always the case if you have the pace to keep outrunning. And actually, yeah, you can see the blue flag there. This is going to be a bit hairy into turn 1, I think. No, there we go. Didn't defend. Just kept pushing forward. And actually now you can see 2nd place trying to get up the inside into turn 2. And through they go. Now ski through as well. So it's going to be Josh Waring soon on the attack. Always scary when you're a blue flagged driver and you've got this level of racing and you've got the pole sitter and the podium coming through. It can get a little bit hairy, gets a little bit stressful, it has to be said. So a bit further back down, we are back on board. Currently looking at the Ferrari of Jimmy Holm running in 10th place. Now earlier on this was the battle for just outside the top 10, but now it's very much for a battle inside the top 10 after a few cars have pit and there's been a few little incidents here and there. But still, the Nissan, car number 4, holding its own, managing to maintain that position. And actually, there was someone else that was right behind. Oh yes, of course, it was the Lamborghini that ended up going into the pits that we saw earlier on. Oh, and there we go, someone that's on a real charge, car number 46 again with the fastest lap, but into the, or coming out of the pits as we speak. Right, so with 36.5 minutes left of the race, lots and lots of people now jumping into the pits. Huge chunk of people coming in, actually. So, our leaders still out at the moment, but 4th and 5th have come into the pits. Mueller, Schipper, Alavi, Wow, they were running in 11th, 12th and 13th respectively. They have all come into the pits as well, so we're really starting to see the bulk of pit stops just before the halfway mark. So yeah, just seen it in the chat as well, someone saying it's a good shout to come into the pits a little bit early with all this traffic around. And yes, it definitely is. If you're not managing to get past on the track, it's always worth jumping into the pits and seeing if you can possibly get the... Oh, stop, go 30 for Hamling. That's going to be speeding in the pit lane, easily done. And again, this is a circuit where people haven't necessarily had loads of practice. And entering the pit can be one of those things that you just don't think about doing in practice, because you very often, if you're practicing and you make a mistake, you just immediately go back to the pits. You can teleport back. Obviously not something you can do mid-race. Oh, and that's a real... I'll be very, very disappointed with that, I think. Let me look at the times. Kevin Niles so the timing board going absolutely wild as people are coming into the pits at the moment. Kevin Niles versus car number 199. I think that is a back marker. It's 199. I believe that's the number I can see on this other car. It is car number 199 currently running in... That is Ziege running in 34th position, so yes, that is currently a back marker, but all the timing goes a little bit wonky when the pits happen, and as everyone comes charging in. So none... Oh, Josh Waring in the pit actually, there we go, so he's definitely was right up there by the front just a moment ago, so good to see people still pushing forward, but choosing the pit slightly earlier. Hamling will be so disappointed by that penalty. So that's an in-game penalty for speeding in the pit lane is usually what that one comes up for. So, oh, here we go. There's a nice little one going on. So it's Christian Mueller versus car number 46, which you saw on a real charge earlier on. Tries to go up the inside into turn 1, but they've also got a rejoining car from the pit. And so they were going absolutely great guns, but suddenly there's traffic in front of them, and that car is going to be on reasonably cold tyres. Interesting to see how quickly that car can get itself turned on and going. That car that's running in... Oh, waiting for the time board to sort itself out. It was running in 14th place. 15th place, apparently. And that's car number 4. Fallu. There we go. Now it's sorting itself out. Yes, running in 15th place. Mueller in 16th place. And Hamling already going in to serve the hot stop go penalty of 30 seconds. And saying you think 30 seconds doesn't sound like much, but it's all the time you're there, creeping into the pits on your pit limiter, coming to a full stop, 30 seconds. That's 30 seconds of the tyres being able to cool down, losing that optimum grip that you've been working on, and then the entire run out to the pits as well. Plus you're going to be possibly then in traffic or a back marker. A stop go penalty can really, really put a huge dampener on your race. I've got to say though, little GTR doing fantastic straight out the pits. Amazing effort to get the tyres to get working that quickly. And this is the outbound. Oh, Kellaway saying the fastest lap of the race now. What was that? That's a 1:30.860 in this second half of the race after the pit stops. Yeah, I think previous to that, at best, we had seen... I think it was a 1:30.9, so yeah. Oh, positions being made up in front of us. Once the camera decides to sort itself out, and I think that is... Come on, screen. Yes, that is Kellaway versus Waring. So coming now towards the mid-sector of section 2. And towards turn 11, hard on the brakes. Oh, car number 444. What's happened there? Oh, that's Kevin Niles. That is Kevin Niles. What happened there? Oh, trying to go up the inside of the... Well, that's the Nissan, isn't it? So a little bit of a rub we just saw there, but he does get past. I mean, you know, a little bit of trading paint isn't too bad. But what happens here? Why did it suddenly go back? Oh, it's that Nissan just caught the rear end. Oh, and he got collected again by one of the Audis. I doubt the Audi had much it could do about that, really. That would have suddenly just been a blockade in the middle of the circuit. But that rear end damage, you saw the car just go straight into that left-hand corner. And that certainly would have done some damage, at least adjusted the alignment on that car, so it's not going to feel as good as it should do anymore. was a gap that was really close, but I believe it was because of the pit stops. So jumping back. Oh, here's the nice one. And there we go. There's that BMW that's got Your Way written down the side of it for Your Way Racing. This is Tchaikovsky versus Faced Fast. Well, it's been 16 years since I learned any German. I really do need to get my act together again and have a bit of a refresher, I think, as there are so many glorious names here in Tier 2 this time round. In fact, Column 47, that BMW, trying to be the aggressor against Zeelenberg. Really come off the racing line, or whether that was just trying to break the toe that Fast has against him. So BMW versus Mercedes, two reasonably similar cars, front engine rear wheel drive, as opposed to a lot of the mid-engine rear wheel drive cars that we have here. And obviously the Porsche the exception to the rule, the rear engine rear wheel drive car, which does make it such a large risk-reward kind of car. It's actually one of the reasons you don't see many of them in sort of high-end championships. It's simply the fact that they are so risky to drive. And the new one isn't quite as bad, but they are a little bit squiffy, we'll say, when it comes to the curves. They do get a little bit scared from time to time. This little battle seems to be settling. Oh, saying that, lots of curve running there from these two. Possibly a move around the outside down into turn 13. Switches it back under braking, tries to get on the inside. Not quite able to get done. But now a possible overlap down towards turn 1. The BMW, Column 47, definitely was compromised. And now side by side. Oh, God. The BMW comes right across the nose of the Mercedes. It's going to have to be a very, very brave dive to try and do anything into turn 1. I don't think anyone's quite that brave or silly to try that. Definitely one of the nicest battles to keep an eye on at the moment. There's a few appearing all over the place now, though. We will have a little check back up towards the front. Nowski still in pole position. Porsche in second, Waring in third, Chloe fourth, and Kavicik in fifth. They are all around a second gap between each other, so they're quite happy. But the battle for 8th place seems to still be raging on. This is Jimmy Holm in the Holming Missile team car. Well, I do quite like that green. I'm not sure where I've seen it before, but it is quite a nice colour on that car right there. This is the battle for 8th position. Oh, what a big move up the inside by the Mercedes 189. That was a big old dive, that was. Let's have a look back on the replay. We can see it under braking here. I think actually the car was unsettled from the outside curb and was already starting to over-rotate and trying to sort of go for the safest spot. Ooh, but yeah, most certainly not what you want. Oh, and faced Fast with a drive-through penalty, so that has got to be for track infringement. So that's a real sting in the tail for them. They were doing so well, having a lovely little battle then. So the little one going on up here, it's now Mueller versus Thalou, and actually they have broken away from the great big stock of cars behind them. Oh, car number 21 as well, showing as a yellow flag. They're rejoining. That was at turn 1. I think a lot of that is people just getting unsettled in turn 1, as there was no one else around them. They didn't seem to be stopped for that long, so we won't go for the replay on that particular incident. Oh, hang on. I'll have to unmute Discord for a moment. Say something now, Rage.
How you doing, buddy?
I'm not too bad, mate. How are you doing yourself?
Very good. I thought I'd come in and give you a little hand on the old comms. You very thankfully helped us out in Tier 1 and did a fantastic job. And what a race we got today. Obviously, I came in only, well, most of the way through this race, but Tier 2 doesn't disappoint as always.
No, I do like to say that I do think Tier 1 is always nice, but the Tier 2 guys, I do feel like they always put on a fantastic show opening round. And as I say, it's always rising stars here in Tier 2 as well. You know, we've had people, well, who we had? I think we had Whitehead a few years ago. We've obviously had Caracas. who is now very much a tier 1 staple. Quite a few of my lads have come up into tier 1 this season, actually. I was quite surprised when reading through the amount of names that I recognised last night.
One of them.
Yeah.
He was a tier 2 champion, I think, a good few years ago. He made his way up into the ranks, now a good top 10 driver in tier 1. You got some boys I recognise. I recognised Holm, I recognised Kevin Niles from the endurance scene. Pretty sure I've heard of Nowski, but I mean, it looks like this field at the moment round here, dominated by McLarens. It seems to be the favourable car this afternoon.
It was definitely the favourable car last night as well. And I mean, there was a very small update that came out over the last 24 hours in between these two races. And I did wonder if it was possibly a tweak to the BOP, but I haven't actually been able to find any notes on the update. I mean, there was definitely a download. Steam was screaming at me as soon as I fired up the PC, but there doesn't appear to be any patch notes for it anywhere that I have found. But it doesn't appear to have slowed down the McLarens. They're still dominating the top 5 positions on the grid. But would you believe it that there is one of the truly old school cars, a Nissan GTR, currently running in 6th place and doing a really good job of it?
Seeing that car bash it round with the top boys. I mean, there has been a change of BOP. I had a little chat with, I think, the 4th place man last night, Mr. Luke Whitehead. Had a little chat with him about how the race went. And it has been a slight change. Whether it was the best one, I'm not too sure. There's people in the chat saying it's for Tyre Army only. But who knows? It's a fantastic battle going on for 15th at the moment, or 14th, I think, because Hull. Oh, we got a spinner of the 999 Clifford.
And back, see if we can grab that one on a replay. We've had quite a few spins this evening. Where was this? This is down turn 13 we're jumping on with. And so it must have been down at turn 1. Seen a lot of the Lamborghinis actually go out of control at turn 1.
More action going on with I think the P14 boys. Well, they're actually jumped up now, but there was some big action there. One of the cars, I think it was Olavi, just took off to the side of the track after bumping the Ferraris coming through. So yeah, there's a lot going on in the midfield, I think, is what we're surmised from that. Like,
yeah, there's a massive amount of action still going on. So the McLarens at the front seem to have broken away a fair old bit, but it is good to see sort of so much mid-pack battling going on. And have you managed to get any seat time in any of these cars yet, or are you still sort of a bit like me and a bit fresh around the whiskers, we'll say, and not have had a chance to put in too many laps in the new vehicles?
New cars, no. I had a little whisk around some of the new tracks, but it was in, I think, a McLaren. So yeah, not tried the new Ferrari. It looks good, but not tried anything really, competitive. I'm not very competitive anyway, let's be honest.
No, we have no time. We have no time for that. And as commentators, as I always say, we are cursed from the moment we put our hands on the steering wheel. Oh, move around the outside of the turn 2. Really good move there by car number 25. Can they manage to maintain the pace? They're going to have to be a little bit wide there and actually dip back in behind car number 4 of Thalou. But you can definitely see that cork in the bottle is starting to give way. The Audi of Mueller has already made it past. I think that happened sort of while we were watching back some of the replays. But now in this final stint, maybe with a bit less fuel weight, keeping that Nissan down on the road, the tyres do seem to be struggling a little bit. And it's a very tyre-dependent car from what I remember. I think I've driven it once or twice. There was quite a few updates ago. But yeah, I'm very surprised to see that car up and about. It doesn't really get many BOP updates or tweaks these days, so it should technically, on a purely technical standpoint, be a fairly outdated car. So to see it inside the top 10 here in Tier 2 is fairly astounding.
I think he's holding on, isn't he, really? The number 4. He's doing a fantastic job to see an old Nissan pull it round, but he's got some fast boys behind him. I think he's being chased, isn't he, by number 25.
Oh, that was the Audi. I think we just saw, that was Mueller. I think Mueller we just spun in front of him, I believe. Yeah, he's recovering right now. We'll jump back on the replay. I think that's another mid-engine victim of turn 12, because he was flying away. Really
back down to P10.
Oh, dearie me. Yeah, so on the replay now, hopefully we're going to be able to spot what happened. So coming down towards turn 12, he already had a fair bit of damage on the front of that car. Oh, it was the exit of 12. He clipped the curb going into 13. Gravel on the inside, really well held. Managed to keep it out of the racing line and recover reasonably quickly. But yeah, really unfortunate. Just too much curb, sent him flying. And there's some big old sausages here at Valencia.
So how's the battle going on for the lead at the moment? You've got Nowski ahead of Orchi by 6/10, Waring just behind by 1.5 seconds, and then Callaway just behind him. But the two top boys, they're getting close. Equal machinery here. It's just tune tweaks that are kind of playing the devil's advocate. But how's it been throughout the beginning of the race qualifying? How's that played out? Obviously, I missed the first part, came in 45 minutes watching as it's going on, but missed what happened at the beginning. So summarise for us.
It's very much been a McLaren-dominated race. It was Josh Waring and Horshey on the front row, and I believe Nowski and Kellaway made up the second row. And to be honest, for a little while, those four really did start to break away. There was a Lamborghini hanging on with them as well. Who was that? It actually ended up a bit of a weird netcode issue. There suddenly was a Ferrari where there wasn't a Ferrari, and it ended up spinning a car. And even on the replay, we watched it back, and I wondered if it possibly was going to be a repeat of last night where our Southwest Internet decided to throw a complete wobbly, and I had 2 disconnects last night. But it wasn't. It actually was there. It was an incident, so I'm not sure sort of if anyone really can even be blamed for that one. It was one of those very truly only happens in sim racing kind of moments. But really, these 4 drivers, well, 5 drivers as well, including kind of the 46 of Kimmich, they've really dominated the front of this pack. There's been a couple of battles, it kind of ebbs and flows, but this is the longest period of time that Nowski has spent on pole position. He was in 3rd place, and then after a little bit of roughhousing, he managed to get himself up into 1st. So really well done by him. He's kept a really clean nose this entire race. Really, the
time on this lap, as it looks, I think when they crossed the line, it was 6 tenths. They're now down to 3. So it looks like Orchie's definitely closing in on him. The red paint, Garage 59 man, looks like he's under some pressure. We'll see how that pans out. But saying that, Horchie's just lost another 3 tenths. So it seems to be, you know, I'll take a little bit of that and you give a little bit of that in return by the looks of things. But these boys are playing for position here. There is 20 minutes to go. I think it's anyone's at this stage, mate, to be honest. There's anyone who puts a foot wrong, I think will lose the win round Valencia. You've got to remember too, this track is very new. It takes a long time to learn a track, the nuances, where you can go fast, where you can really let someone catch up. It's tough, this, and everyone's going to be very close. If you look how spread out they are, all the way down to 6th place is the only port where you see they've actually lost a bit of time.
Yeah, we were saying earlier on, obviously this being a new track, new cars, this is the first the first big race for AOR in Tier 2, and obviously the descending ones from this point onwards, with this new tyre and physics update as well. So all the older setups don't work. Everything you used to put into a setup doesn't work anymore. They got rid of all the maximum toe and camber. All those issues got tweaked out. So it's not only is it a brand new circuit with brand new cars, it's like learning to drive again, isn't it? Everything you used to think, oh, well, it's a little bit wobbly here, I'll just add a bit of toe. It's a little bit, flat here, I'll just, just tweak the camber maybe slightly. You can't do that anymore. You need to go back to basics and start again with your setups. And it's, yeah, as you said, a new circuit where not that many people have been able to put in loads and loads of laps. And it's hard to find a really close lobby to be able to practice super hard fast racing as well. I mean, obviously you can jump into any public lobby. There's plenty of practice lobbies and public lobbies put online by Apex Online Racing as well, so there's lots of them to go in, but the likelihood of being full of tier 2 drivers when you're trying to practice is pretty slim, and so you might be racing against people that are multiple seconds slower than you, so you might think, oh yeah, oh here we go, turn 13, no, not quite. So you might be thinking to yourself, oh yeah, I can always make a move on drivers in turn 12, I can do it every single time. You come into this race tonight and it's the first time you are surrounded by incredibly equal spec drivers, and suddenly your moves don't work. And it can be incredibly frustrating and also very humbling that you suddenly think, oh god, I'm not as dominant as I thought I was around here. And so, yeah, I mean, I definitely had a bit of a shock when I came over from, I used to race on Xbox and I came over to PC, and I was, yeah, slightly shocked and very much humbled by how much quicker everyone was. I was like, oh, good lord, okay.
AOR takes it to a different level, it really does. They say it's the most competitive ACC racing series. It 100% is. 10 tiers, I think it is, and everyone's very close as Zeelenberg gets himself a drive-through. That will be for track limits. We're watching at the moment, I'm watching at least, the battle between the number 4 and the 25 of Karagulu, getting incredibly close. Looks like Karagulu's feeling out the inside through some of these fast sweeping corners. God knows what turns they are. You're keeping up much better than I am. It's a new track, got no idea. But you've got to remember also, you know, we're talking about those setups, those fine tunes. They're not readily available yet. There are some that are out there, you know. I'm sure the boys, you know, like Driver 61 and all the others have got the coach Daves and all of those have got the proper tunes out there. But if you want to fine tune it to yourself, you've got to put in the hard work to get it there. Especially if you're running around in something like a Nissan GTR. Because I'll bet your bottom dollar there isn't a tune out as the Ferrari 25 takes the inside line and absolutely smashes him on the braking zone. And that is another position for the 25 up into 6th place. I don't actually feel too bad, to be fair, because that Nissan's doing a fantastic job there in 6th. Now down to 7th, though, buddy.
He's flashing his lights, and I'm surprised whether that's just a case of trying to unsettle the car a little bit in front, but that was a perfectly legitimate move, I feel like. So maybe just a case of flashing the lights, you know, trying his luck a little bit. I mean, everything you can do. Oh, a little battle going on behind them as well, actually, as well. Oh, and a move down the inside. That is Chipper versus Martin, and Martin goes through, or Martin goes through. And earlier on, these two were very much taking the fight to car number 4, the Nissan GTR. I'll be very, very interested to see if maybe they can also start catching up with it, especially now that Martin is released and pushing forward in that Iron Lynx liveried car. A quick shout out to the real life team Iron Dames, who did absolutely fantastically at the Le Mans 24 Hour this weekend, wasn't it? Fantastic race for them. Very, very much impressed. Really good to see them having some luck in an endurance race, as they've had some slightly mixed fortunes, we'll say, over some of the endurance races last year, and this year seems to be going all right for them so far. So really pleased to see.
Is this virtual or real?
This is real life. So yeah, this was the Le Mans. It was the 100-year anniversary of Le Mans actually this weekend as well. So
Ferrari coming back strong.
Yes, very much so. I did enjoy very much seeing all of the American memes coming around about the NASCAR that did so well. It was in its own class, but it was
won its own class. You've got to remember, it won the Le Mans 24.
it did in its own class, and it was monstrously quick. I mean, a couple of times it was there behind the LMP cars on the straights. And it was just keeping up with them. It was like pushing 200 mile an hour, and obviously the GTE cars that it was originally placed with they could do nothing to hang on to them in a straight line. Another thing, actually, it's the last year of the GTE class being used in the Le Mans. It's going over to GT3, so we'll see cars like this there next year. So I would imagine we're probably going to see some of the Mercedes rolling out, the big factory drivers. I imagine we'll probably see KUNOS and Marciello there next year. I imagine they'll be rolling everything they have at that one, trying to go for a win.
Oh, fantastic. I didn't realise they're dropping it down to GT3. I mean, it's a fantastic race, isn't it? And now they've opened it up to the hypercar. You've got some of the big boys playing the game. I saw, didn't Glickenhaus, the somewhat privateer team, do okay in comparison to the budgets that they've got up against?
Yeah, I think there was a couple of incidents. I think at one point there was a bit of a crash, and they ended up putting the wrong front end on the car, which was quite amusing. So it was running
Very strange.
It was two separate numbers they were running, but they did manage to sort that with a bit of gaffer tape. I think they managed to modify the number, but no, I think they did pretty well. I think they were in the top 5, possibly. I know there was 2 of the Cadillacs actually came 3rd and 4th overall, which was quite impressive, and I think the 3rd one that was running in the race ended up crossing the line all as one big bunch, which was quite nice, and they all slowed down to cross the line together, so that was very nice to see. I'm trying to keep an eye on this race a little bit more again now. The 2 Your Way cars battling out, it's car number 47 and 808. The BMW there, very much able to take the curves a little bit nicer. But as we've seen, some of the McLaren is so unbelievably strong here at Valencia. And I was chatting with a couple of drivers post-race last night, and they were saying that actually they do feel like it is only this circuit where the McLaren feels especially strong. And they were saying they're not looking forward to a lot of the British circuits, which I'm sure a lot of British drivers will maybe be slightly more sort of versed with, but I think a lot of the European drivers are going to be slightly shocked when they go to somewhere like Snetterton and realise just how incredibly odd that circuit is. I mean, it's a brilliant circuit, but it's a very strange circuit to drive, I would say. Incredibly flat.
I can't say I've really driven around this circuit before.
Oh! Car number 23, 4th place, Callaway picks himself up a drive-through! All the way from jumping into the pit immediately. You're going to be interested to see where this car comes out. So
Get it done quickly.
Yeah, it's the way to do it, really, isn't it? No point leaving it any later. The more time after the pits, the more time you have to gain the positions back. and there's no point driving all the way to the end and having it added to the end of the race timer, because I can't remember what happens. Oh no, actually with a drive-through you have a set amount of laps and then you get disqualified, so getting it done is straight. Yeah, it is 3 laps indeed.
Should keep him inside the top 10. He should just be okay. It's not going to be disastrous, but obviously he's thrown away the podium. I think he's exiting the pit lane now.
Yeah.
So, yeah, no, he's going to be well inside the top 10. So it's not disaster. There is still opportunity.
He's actually still only in 5th, which is really impressive. He has now got Cargaloo coming up behind him very, very quickly with his stability control 88%. So racing for the same team as Black Gold Saw, obviously, that we see in Tier 1. And am I right in thinking that Black Gold Saw still plays with a controller? I mean, you probably know better than I do, which is unbelievable, isn't it?
Fantastic driver. When you think about it, everyone's up against. Even in Tier 2, you get all of these boards are running on sim rigs. There might be the odd one or two that might use a controller, but I know he uses a modified controller yet, and he still uses it to this day. He took a break, I think, because the BOPs took him out of contention a little bit, because I know he was very, very much favoured the Bentleys, but I'm not too sure what he's racing in now. Is it Lamborghini by any chance?
Yeah, pretty sure it was the new Lamborghini.
It would be.
Yeah, pretty sure it was the new Lamborghini last night. Oh no, actually no, it wasn't. It was the Ferrari, I think. Running that same.
Maybe he's found some nuances that work with the controller system that haven't been bopped out.
Quite possibly. I mean, I don't understand how. I can't even do just a practice lap with a controller at all. I can't do anything at all.
Man's a myth. It's that way.
Yeah, it's pretty ridiculous. I remember hearing rumours about it back in the day, and then when I actually got to witness it on track, and I was very much surprised that someone could be so quick with the controller. And again, very humbling. As I was there, sat behind my wheel, sort of just twiddling my thumbs as people went flying on by.
I'll never forget Black Gold Saw around the Spa. I think it was 9 hours AOR GT endurance series that they had. I think it might have been season 1, and he came from about 5th, but with one stint, and finished 3rd by like 0.2 of a second. It was an incredible stint. He blew away the competition, and he got his team onto the podium. And to be fair, probably some of the best driving I've ever seen on ACC. It was fantastic, faultless. He was passing people left and right, not even thinking about it. It was, yeah, some of the best driving ever, and you've got to remember it's all on the controller. If you want to see any of that, you join us on Mondays at 7:30, and you can watch BGS around wherever we are next week. I've got no idea. Where are we next week?
We are at Donington, I believe, next
Fantastic.
week.
Yeah, it'll probably be raining, let's be honest.
Yeah, probably will be. Actually, that was the first time I ever got in the commentary box with you, was at Donington. It was the end of was it the Donington 9 hour we did?
Oh my God, what a finish that was!
Yeah, the Meat Snacks racing car coming across. It was Boothby, wasn't it? It was very, very exciting, the end of that one. I'm just looking now. Yes, we are at Donington next week, then Laguna Seca, then Spa, Brands Hatch, Snetterton, and then finishing the season at Imola. So I think it's 7 weeks of racing, and there's no break this season. It is just flat out racing week after week. So yeah, I think because obviously being the summer. So yeah, 7 weeks of racing. I do believe that was the last I saw. There was no break. I'm not going to try and read all the dates right now because I physically cannot read and keep an eye on the action. And a possible move now into turn 1. Oh goodness gracious! Getting the nose cut off there.
There's been some incidents at the front. Horchie is not in second place anymore. We missed something in our conversation. He's got damage on the front end, and the gap between the top now is completely wide open. So something happened with the 43 within the last 2-3 minutes that we've missed, and I think it's opened up the win now for Nowski. I think it's almost a dead cert, unless obviously we have an incident with a drive-through. Something happened there. I think we missed.
Yeah, the front end of that car, just having a look at the front end of it now, looking very, very damaged. 3rd place. Got a decent lead over 4th place, so really going to depend on how these laps go. Yeah, last lap was a 1:33 for Horchie, so sadly I do think it was a bit too far back to try and jump on a replay. With 7 minutes of racing left, possibly just going to try and stick it out. Yeah, didn't pit this time round, so what is the lap time as they come across the line here?
Ooh,
another
33.7.
And compared to a 1:31.4 of the Carnival.
What's the gap? He's going to lose that then in probably 3 to 4 laps. He will be out. Have we got 3 to 4 laps before the end? It's worth trying at least.
I think we've got maybe 3, possibly 4. if they can, it really depends on how quickly the pole guys decide to go, to be honest. As I say, at the moment, car number 720 of Nowski is currently right in the slap bang centre of the lap. So I'm not sure. I imagine though, if car number 46 of Kmechik has seen there's been an incident, or if he's got any kind of team orders coming through, they might be screaming at him, just say push, 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 give it everything you've got and you'll get yourself on the podium, which would be a really great thing, because this is definitely a new name here in Tier 2. So if you can get on the podium in Tier 2 Race 1, what a way to start off your season, and a way to start off your AOR career in Tier 2.
There's a fantastic race still going on involving the number 4 of Alex Thilu, is it? In the Nissan, absolutely holding on to 7th place. He's got Victor Martin and Schipper a little bit further behind. They're dicing to get past. With only probably, like you say, 3 to 4 laps. It's going to be a white knuckle ride to the end, I think, for the GTR.
Yeah, I mean, those tyres now have got to be absolutely hanging on by the skin of their teeth. There really can't be much left of them. And actually, you can start to see that car getting a little bit more unsettled through the faster corners. And actually now through turn 12 and 13. Are we going to see a move up the inside? Under braking goes for it up the inside. They're going to give each other room just enough. And yes, car number 4 definitely has a vastly affected exit. And actually now the Porsche as well, right on the back of it. So it looks like Schipper's going to try and go for a move possibly into turn 1.
Or throw it up the inside.
Oh,
just go for it.
He's going for it into turn 1. He's retaking the position. Oh, there was a bit of a rub. And I think the big winner here is actually going to be the Porsche. Into turn 2, gets the brakes on. 2 for 1. Absolutely fantastic. Great little drive there. Played the traffic perfectly. Could have got more involved in the battle. Decided to sit behind a little bit and let these two squabble it out. And there we go. Gets it by and driving a really, really good race. A bit of defensive driving there, actually, from Schipper, just placing his car sort of between both lines. And as much as I really want to see Thilu in the... Oh, and he loses the position there.
Desperate lunge there from Victor Martin, but he did actually get through cleanly. He had to concede there, unfortunately, the number 4.
Yeah.
Alex, unfortunately, losing 2 positions. Victor Martin was the big loser out of all that.
Coming back, though.
He is. He's not giving up, is he? Oh dear. Well, I mean, still a fantastic result for the GTR. You're in what? You're going to be 9th place in a car that really shouldn't be running in 9th.
No, you'd expect it to be much, much further down the grid, wouldn't you? I mean, normally if you join a public lobby and you see a Nissan GTR, you're thinking, oh gosh, here we go. This is going to be fun. Like someone's probably going to clip me at some point. So to see it being piloted so well is an absolute treat. And I'm sure everyone at home is quite enjoying seeing such a different car on the grid. It's a slightly more varied grid, I will say, in Tier 2. I think you might be slightly unsurprised by the amount of Ferraris, Lamborghinis and McLarens you're walking into next week, if I'm honest.
Yeah, how's the Porsche spread? Because obviously the Porsche has been quite dominant for the past 2 seasons. A lot of people walking away from the German outfit going into this season?
Yeah, really didn't see many of them last night, if I'm honest. I'm trying to think how I can pull it up. That was last night, wasn't it? Let's have a little quick look. Oh, I'm looking at the wrong season. I was looking back at season 12, so I can have an idea of what's going on. Not going to try and do it. There's not enough time quite yet. Post-race, we'll have a little look. But yeah, to be fair, there was a few Porsches there, but nothing compared to the McLarens and the Ferraris and the Lamborghinis. Everyone going for these, for the newly updated BOP and obviously the new Evo version of the McLaren, because we haven't seen an update really to that car for quite a few years now. I think it was 2019 was the last big update on that car, and I think that's 4 years ago. So nice to see it getting a bit of a touch up. So looking for close battles at the moment. I actually think that Holm might be on the attack in the homing missile Ferrari. So times-wise, there's a big difference. Last lap from Thilu was a 1:34.3, and the last time around for Holm was 1:31.8. So this is a slightly faster lap for these two this time round, but I think the tyres...
It was a rubbing lap, remember?
It was very much a rubbing lap, yes, but I do think the tyres are starting to fall away, sadly, on that Nissan GTR. So whereabouts are the leaders now? I reckon we've got another 2 laps here. I think we have this lap.
Got 2.
Yeah, this and at least one more to go, I'm pretty sure.
I think, looking at that, Horchy's going to hold on, isn't he? You get 2.9 is the gap. He got his lap times up to a 1:32.5. Looks like Matthias Kimicek behind was doing a 1:31.6, so still a second a lap faster, but by the time we've finished those 2 laps, it'll be about 9/10. So I think he'll hold on to the podium, which is fantastic for him. Battle still going on, like you say, for 9th. Can Alex keep it inside the top 10 by the end here? Because to be fair, you've got Muller just behind, not that far. If there's the touch here and they go toe-to-toe in the last lap, that Audi will be up as quick as you can say cheese. So we'll keep an eye on what happens with this battle as Holm tries to find a better line. He's right on the gearbox here, buddy.
Unbelievably close. It's like, oh, there's a little move up the inside. Oh, I think it's going to be a case of maybe turn 12, turn 13 again, isn't it? That does seem to be where the Nissan is really starting to show its most weakness. And the Ferrari looked very strong there. Yes, bit of a closing gap. Are we going to see a lunge to the left-hand side under braking? Not this time, we're not. But, oh, you can see how much the gap closed up under braking there. So the Ferrari managed to get on the anchors much, much later. And now they'll be sat in the toe of that. In comparison, it's a honking great car, isn't it, compared to the Ferrari? The Ferrari disappears behind it. So it's going to be punching a massive hole in the air in front for that Ferrari to slip along behind. So just...
4/10 Muller managed to gain on this little pair going into that lap, by the way. So another 4/10 will be inside of a second. So you might be a little bit too far back to make a move, but if these guys go toe-to-toe, you never know.
Yeah, depends how much they squabble. This is the final lap of the race as well. So our leader just coming round the penultimate turn at the moment, so we will try and cut to them. Just keeping an eye on this battle as well as keeping an eye on the actual leader is always a bit of a difficult one.
I'll let you know if anything drastic happens, buddy, if you want to stay with Nowski.
Right, here we go. Nowski coming to the line. Fantastic effort. Charging towards it now. Pole position at round 1 of season 13. And Josh Waring coming across the line as well. Both of them weaving furiously, to be fair. Oh, Lamborghini just went right into the pit wall. And, oh, God, I'm not sure who that was. It was not Horsey. Horsey coming across the line now. So that was one of the much further down the circuit cars. I'm not sure who that was, but they really decided to just absolutely nail it into the wall for some reason. Maybe a bit of frustration. Let's quickly cut back to that main battle. Coming into the final
now or
turn.
never, buddy. Up the inside, he's going to try.
Thought
I don't think
about
we've got
it.
enough time left.
Is he going to be a drag to the line though? Who's going to get the better exit? I think he's going to hold on to 9th place, isn't he? Really well done. Absolute fair play. I think driver of the day has got to go to Falou, really, hasn't it, for bringing this car to tier 2. I mean, absolutely fair play. Mueller coming along as well, holding on to 10th place. Oh, did we lose someone already? Because I thought that Mueller was going to be finishing in 11th. And suddenly...
You might have had one of the top boys jump out at the end there.
Yeah, quite possibly. So we'll have to look at the actual results at the end. Oh, someone that's still squabbling along is down in 27th place. This is Bryn versus Hamlin. Actually, we saw Hamlin much, much further up the grid earlier. Oh, lots of cars stopping just beyond the line, to be fair. A bit of a stacking going on there. But that's it. That is what kind of 174 just to come across the line. That's our last driver out there. That is Alexandra. And there we go. That is it for round 1. A fantastic effort from everyone.
A close session as well.
Yeah, I mean, goodness gracious. I mean, I've been sweating nearly this entire time, I think. Not just because it is a ridiculously hot summer at the moment, but because that racing was absolutely insanely close. I'm just grabbing a quick screenshot of the results to make sure nothing changes. Oh, my goodness. Fantastic racing that was. I mean, I'm very much glad you joined me at the end because I think I would have been a little bit burnt out by the end of that one, if I'm honest, Rach. There was so much going on the whole time. Right, we're going to jump
It's good
back.
to have another set of eyes.
Yeah, we're going to jump back to the pre-screen, so it's a little bit nicer to look at than just the results. And we will have a manual read-through of the results before they all disappear in a minute, and we'll keep a little eye, and hopefully some of our leaders will want to come and join us in the booth. So 2 seconds while we just have a little changeover, and we can go from there. Oh, fantastic. I've already added the Discord voice to this one, so we can get straight into it. And just keeping an eye on the ready for interview box. No one coming in, so let's have a quick read through the list as it was as they crossed the line. Obviously, this may change due to post-race penalties. As I said, only live stewarding for Tier 1. Tier 2 and descending from that point onwards, they all get post-race penalties applied. So Nowski coming along in pole position, Waring in second, Horsey third, Kimichik fourth, and rounding out the top 5 is Kellaway. At 6th place is Cargaloo, Shipper 7th, 8th is Martin, Thalou running in 9th, and Holm in 10th. I mean, an absolutely fantastic top 10. And actually, we've got Horsey, our 3rd place driver, in the interview box. So we'll drag them in and see how they got on.
We can find out what happened at the end there that we missed out on.
Good
We
evening.
were caught slipping.
Can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
Fantastic. I mean, yeah, you are going to have to let us know. We missed something while we were keeping an eye on a battle for 8th and 9th. What happened right there at the end?
You mean when I disappeared from the battle for P1?
Yes.
What basically happened is that when we went through that quick right-hander, that was at the very end of the circuit, I a bit overestimated the capabilities of the McLaren suspension, and the inside the sausage just threw me away. Even though I was really familiar with it all race, I was thinking to myself that I'm gaining on the car ahead every single lap there. And when we got to the back markers, well, I guess they really got me out of focus a bit.
Yeah, when you're not able to be on your absolute maximum attack line, it can really affect you, can't it, when you're sort of coming up behind it. How did the McLaren feel this evening? Obviously, last night we saw it quite a dominant car, again a dominant car. Did it feel particularly dominant on the circuit, or did it just feel more like you behind the wheel getting it to where it was?
It was a really handy car. I got used to it really quickly. So before I started practicing yesterday for this race, that I did my first few laps with the McLaren, and I was driving the Mercedes before, and I got to it really quickly. The one thing I was struggling with was tire wear. That's something I have to work with. I feel like that everyone managed to keep the tire degradation under a limit that I couldn't, and I was sliding everywhere. That's something I gotta work on, but the car feels really nice. It's definitely the best car here. We'll see how it performs at Donington.
So you're at Donington next. Is there any particular circuit this season that you're really looking forward to? And is there a circuit you're really not looking forward to?
Well, Donington is one of my favorites.
Good man, good man. It's the best circuit in the UK.
I basically love all the British circuits in the game, even Alton Park, especially Snetterton. I really don't get why people dislike it so much. It's such a great circuit, such flowing corners, funny corner names. I like Bomb Hole. But one of the circuits which is a very hot take for me within sim racing, and people might not like it, is that Spa-Francorchamps is one of the worst tracks for, I could say, for all kinds of racing.
Oh,
to me, it's
sure
just
how I feel about that.
Yeah, no, I know it's a controversial one, but it's so overused. It's like I don't know how familiar the viewers are with CSGO. It's like Mirage in CSGO. That's what Spa is. And also the corners, I just really don't like them. They really don't feel flowing, despite what other people say. But I do get why other people like it, but I at the same time don't get why they like it. I mean, they are racing on it almost every single season in every single league.
Yeah, it's certainly a fan favourite, and I think it's a viewer's favourite, isn't it? I'll admit that I personally think the worst corner in all of sim racing is Blanchimont. I absolutely despise that flying left-hander, mainly because I get it wrong every bloody time. But yeah, so I actually do agree slightly, as much to upset Rage as that may be, that I'm not a big Spa fan. I'm actually a really big Bathurst fan. And I don't know why. I just really like it, especially in the wet. I really like Bathurst in the wet. So yeah, I mean, I will take your hot take on that one. I'm going to throw the last question over to Rage. Have you got any questions for Horsey?
I mean, to be fair, it was just what went wrong, and he answered that question straight away. To be fair, at the beginning of the race, unfortunately, I wasn't present for. So I mean, it was a good recovery. Obviously, a slight incident. I mean, you're still in for a shout for the championship. It's early days. How do you play the rest? What's the game plan?
The game plan is to improve my overall pace, because on one lap I think I'm very good. I'm certainly one of the best here in Tier 2. That might be a little bit egoistic. I'm not an egoistic little kid.
He's a realist.
I know what I'm capable of, and something I'm not capable of is keeping a consistent pace. It's the other thing I was struggling with. But I've been sim racing for 3 years, and I have been struggling with that for 3 years, and it really is time to work on it a bit.
It's one of those things that comes with time, is the consistency. But I mean, look, it's one of those things. You meet some traffic, you have some damage on the kart, you learn from it, you make sure that you come back stronger. Donington's a good track. I think hopefully the weather is all good. 9 times out of 10 it's raining, but we'll see. It was raining last time we ran Donny, so I hope they decide to make it nice and easy. If it does rain, pit early. That's all I'll tell you.
All right. I will keep that in mind.
Give it a go.
Just a quick one. So the weather settings are looking like 33% dry, 35% wet, with 32% changing conditions.
I knew they would.
I mean, it's typical England, though, isn't it? It tends to be that way. And the sad thing about Donington is it's never a little bit damp. It's either absolutely sodden or it's absolutely scorching hot. There is no in between. I think I've been there a few times, and yeah, it's either boiling hot, and you're like, how am I in England at this point? How is this the British Isles? And then suddenly you're like, oh yeah, now I remember. Now I know why. Because I'm covered in fog and I'm freezing.
Tim, the last time we ran Donny, I think it was a good 3 seasons ago, at least in Tier 1, we had Dara McCormack in the midfield, pitted on lap 1, came back and got 3rd place. So, yeah, possibilities are endless if it rains from the get-go. So, yeah, have fun in the practice servers and get a good strategy that works for you for the rest of the race.
Thank you very much. I will keep that in mind. Make sure I do.
Congratulations on 3rd place this evening, and thank you ever so much for joining us in the commentary booth.
I was happy to join. Thank you.
Right. Cheers. Thank you. Wow, it looks like that is the only person brave enough to come and join us, which is quite often the case. I think that tends to be the thing. I think also a lot of the time that English isn't necessarily people's first language, so it can be a bit intimidating coming in and obviously trying to chat, with obviously everyone watching at home. But goodness gracious, what a great race that was. I mean, we keep saying it over and over again, but I think season 13 for both Tier 1 and Tier 2 has kicked off in absolutely fantastic style. Yeah, and I can only hope that it keeps going and keeps staying this strong the entire way through. As we said,
Indeed.
Donington next week, obviously Monday 7:30 Tier 1 and then Tuesday 7:30 for Tier 2. And it's going to be an absolute corker. I can't wait to see everyone flying down the Craner curbs. Absolutely brilliant racetrack. So I think
we've got a lot of McLarens in both tiers, so it'll be very interesting how the rest of the season goes, because we're in quite a few British areas, like you said. We've got a real mix-up of people in Tier 1 and in Tier 2, people using different machinery. Tim, I hope you join us again for Tier 1 next week. I'll be there, so hopefully you can join us. Whether I make it for Tier 2, I'm not too sure, but I thought I'd come in at least show my face because I wasn't there yesterday.
I might be down to just one or the other next week, simply because
don't you worry.
I have a fiance and a toddler. So
have I, buddy. Welcome to middle age.
Yes, pretty much, mate. I'm in my 30s and this is life. Right, thank you ever so much, everyone at home. Thank you for joining us. As I do hope you join us here again on Apex Online Racing Monday on YouTube, 7:30, and it will at least be Rage in the booth, possibly me as well, and then on Tuesday, me in the booth and possibly Rage as well. So thank you ever so much.
This Noah's Ark 2x2 formation. Road change now, we go racing for the first time this season. 3 hours of GT action, it's go.
It's very tight as they come down. Group of cars coming in. This has all got trouble written all over it. This is G3 cars.
Drop downhill there, head towards the Aqua Minerale. Imola, of course. There's another one off through the gravel. As wide as possible as they drop downhill, put it back from the inside.